Good everyone, in this video today we have the final episode in the special task slash daily task videos, and today it's the Tank RB special tasks. As per usual with this mini-series, we are going to be going through every single task. Obviously the notes on the right hand side will be helping you out just in general, but obviously if you want to skip ahead to a specific task you're struggling with, feel free to do so. There will be more information than just the notes that you see on the right hand side. One other thing before I do say anything, in the description below there is a link to my Discord server if you wish to join it, and if you have any troubles with these tasks, feel free to come in to the Discord server. I'll elaborate a little bit more on anything that you need, and of course, if you want, I can always help you out on some. Without further ado, let's get in, and one last thing, because I forgot to mention it, is the key up on the top left-hand side. You'll notice some of the tasks have an asterisk and some have a plus. This just means the task either got harder or easier. Without further ado, let's get into Star Shower, which actually got a little bit more difficult. I think it went up by 2 required games. Play a battle destroying a required number of enemy aircraft. 1 or more aircraft kills. 6 games. Now, you can pretty much do this as you play normally. So, like, if you're working on your dailies, you can pretty much do this how you want, really. Just don't spawn an SBAA first and don't jump in a plane immediately. You're not going to net as much as you might think. You only need 1 air kill anyway, so you can get this whenever you like, pretty much. So don't be one of those people that spawn an SBAA immediately as soon as the game starts. Play out normally, work on your other dailies or battle pass challenges that you're currently doing, if you can obviously do them in Tank RB, that is. And go from there, really. Like, obviously, Whirlwinds, AMX 13, DCA 40, they make it pretty easy. Obviously, anti-CAS is something you can use. It doesn't really matter what, as long as you can shoot down a plane. You can also use your American tanks, because obviously they do have a 50 cal mounted on the roof. If you want to go one step further, take, I think it's the Italian M24, because that's rank 3, and of course has a pin-top mount 50 cal that can go quite high up. So make sure to use that if you can, but obviously focus on helping your team before like committing to this task. Like, you don't need to focus on a plane kill immediately. You can pretty much get it whenever you like. Next is Bird Hunt, which again, I love how it's still bots or players as it's written in the code. Destroy enemy aircraft in combined battles. So this is exactly the same as Star Shower, and pretty much, and it has gone up from, I believe, 12 kills to 14 kills. And again, same as above, AAs and anti-CAS make this work. Just make sure to use rank 3 for both of these tasks at least once. There is a little method that I used to be able to do. Obviously, you can't really do it nowadays. But, well, you can. There's a method to do it. It's only if you have the XF5F, though. So you can take a 2.3 tank or a 2.7 tank, and then you can just take an XF5F, out dogfight any CAS plane that you'll probably run into, get your kills, and you'll have rank 3 enemy aircraft counted. And if you die in your XF5F, you can jump in an M16, get kills in that, and because you spawned in the XF5F, you can then go from there, really, and just shoot down more planes. I will probably do, at some point, exploit, like, well, I say exploit, more like, shall we say, taking the system and kind of changing it to our advantage, in a way, aka an exploit, but I will do those eventually. Next is at the top. Play a battle taking required place 1 to 2, 4 games. This is going to be a toughie, and it's going to be the first one that I say skip if you're inexperienced. This is a hard one, and even I can struggle, depending on the day, to get this one done. The main thing to focus on is capping points, shooting planes down, and taking out tanks. Now, the note up there says 4.7 Russia. This proves I didn't update the notes before anything else. Mostly because, as you can probably tell by my tone of my voice, I'm not very well right now. I'm almost at the end goal of this cold or whatever it is. Thankfully, it's not COVID, but still. The 4.7 Russia lineup did take a big blow. The KV-85 went up to 5.0. So you cannot use the KV-85 anymore, which really sucks, but it's not the worst thing because T-3457s can still do this with little issue. you just don't have the immediate punch of the 85mm, which, trust me, you're going to miss it. If you really want the 85, you can put in the SU-85, but that doesn't have as much armor. But still. This is just something where you just have to play as best as you can. You have to win, so focus on the caps as well. Well, you don't have to win for this one, so it's because I read the one after. But just pretty much just keep getting kills, assists, shoot down planes, capping points, doing as much as you can, and just try to stay in 1 to 2. You can stay in the low point area for a little bit, but afterward you need to get going. Like, you need to prioritize capping points, shooting planes down, taking out tanks. One thing that you can use, if you have it, of course, is the ITP and the Tismar. Obviously, if you don't have those, that's going to be a bit trickier, but there are IL-2s in the tech tree, which are more than capable of helping you out. Their 23mm cannons can butcher tanks from above, and the bombs that it carries are more than enough to kill most vehicles in the game. And with the 250s, you can pretty much kill anything as long as you get the bomb close enough. So that's personally what I would do. Next, we have efficiency. Win required number of battles, fulfilling all additional conditions, 2,500 or more points, 2 victories. This used to be, I think, 3,000 points? It's really tough, like, at one point this was. It's because it's a lot easier to get points in tanks than it is planes at the minute. Like, obviously, if you get air kills in Air RB, you're fine. Bots also. But it tends to be a bit tougher for tanks sometimes. It depends on the map and stuff like that, like no cap or the battle maps and things like that. And I think this used to also be 3 victories if memory serves. So as stated at the top one, just focus on cats and taking down planes, as well as focusing on the win as well. I would recommend squadding up for this one. Having an extra pair of eyes and an extra tank in your team that you can rely on is certainly something that you can do. It's something that just solidifies the fact that you need this done. And this is definitely one of the tougher ones, because, again, 2,500 points can be a bit of a stretch. But as long as you focus on getting the tank kills, getting the caps, getting the air kills, you should have this done pretty much without much effort. It just depends on how the match goes, and obviously the matchmaking and everything. So just bear that in mind. Next, and the final one for the easier tasks, and obviously the harder ones, we have Can-Do Approach. Win required number of battles, fulfilling 3 conditions in each of them. So this is going to be a bit of a fanny one, to put it simply, and that's pretty much the best way I can describe it. This used to be, I think, 6 victories at one point, and then they dropped it by 2, which, trust me, this makes a huge difference. So, normally in these videos, I say to not play Germany, but Germany is actually one of the better ones for this. Although Russia's not a bad idea either. We have destroy 1 enemy using a light or a medium tank. We have destroy 1 enemy using a heavy tank. And we have destroy 1 enemy using an SPG. So obviously, as long as you get a kill with one of each of those, you just need to get the win and enough battle activity. Now, you can use, obviously, Germany with the Tiger H1, the Panther D, and the Panzer 470V, not the A, because the A is a lower BR and has worse armor for the tier that you're putting it up to, so just use the V. If you want to go lower, you can take the VA if you have it, but obviously that's a premium, which only comes around once in a blue moon, so there you go. But otherwise, it's all about just picking the right nation, something that can reliably get a kill, which most tanks can, but there are definitely some, and pretty much just try and focus on the win. So again, focus on the caps, try and deny CAS if you can, because obviously once you've got your kills in your tanks, you can freely jump in planes and things like that. You can even do like a little bit of CAS, get shot down, and then focus on getting the next part of the task done. So like heavy tank if you've done medium already, and then once your heavy's gone from CAS, because let's be real, that will probably happen, you can then jump into your SVG and take care of the last one. Pretty much just try and don't do what some people do for this task and jump out their medium tank straight into a heavy, jump out the heavy once they've got it, straight into an SVG. I wouldn't advise that. That is a massive waste of spawn point resources, and you need to try and consider that, but I digress. Next, we have 1 step ahead. Get the according to intelligence streak required number of times. 8 streaks. This is best done in a squad, because this is a bit of a faff. So, unlike the scout task or the other scout task, this is one where, according to intelligence, requires pretty much you to get the kill that someone else scouts. Which, as you can imagine, given how the teammates are not the greatest these days, this is definitely something where you need to rely on a squad mate. So, personally, there's no real exploit to this. Just squad it with someone you trust. Make sure they're in a light tank. They scout, you shoot it. Simple as that. Obviously, it is quite tough at getting 8, but you don't need to win, and you don't need a huge amount of battle activity. You just literally need to get those streaks, and it shouldn't take you too long, at least. Next, we have the best on the ground. Play required number of battles where any of the streaks from the list has been received. Heavy Metal Hero, Survivor, Mission Maker, Punisher, Wingman. I'm looking forward to not having to say this anymore, that's for sure, because trust me, there's one more, and you can probably see it at Grand Superiority down there. And this is another one where I would just focus on Heavy Metal Hero, just kill as many tanks as you can. Obviously, Russia 4.7, as I mentioned earlier, did get a nerf. The KV-85 is no longer 4.7, which that's probably because of me. But yeah, this is definitely one where you just focus on getting kills, use your caps, try and take your caps if you want, because enemies will come to the caps because they want their caps back. And make sure to use ambush positions as well. Charging in like a Muppet is not going to get you very far in terms of kills, and you will get overwhelmed. And if you're in a heavy tank, people will figure out where your armor is at the weakest point and kill you. So try and be a bit more considerate with that. But other than that, just focus on getting kills, using casts, and most importantly, firing rockets at SPAs from long distance because they can't hit you. And the players, as a result, will probably send you messages after the match. Trust me, I've had enough of that from using the Tismars rockets, and trust me, they don't like it. Next we have Dreadnought. When required number of battles get the multi-strike X2 streak, required number of times in each of them. Multi-strike X2, 2 victories. This one is a bit of an easier one than the air one. You might remember in the air RB special task video, I mentioned that one's a bit of a faff. This is actually quite a lot easier. Obviously, getting it to win might be a pain in the arse, but it depends on the nation you pick. Personally, an autoloader and a rapid fire gun is perfect for this. I had this task once, and I said, well, I need to spare my Delat Horn, so why not do it in that? And I'd just gotten the APCBC round with the 110 grams of explosive. Got it done in the first match, and I was like, well, that was easy. And, well, the Delat is not the best tank in the game, but, it's enough where you can go a 4-second autoloader. Hell yeah, I want that. And the AMX DCA 40, once it gets to late game, is a menace to light vehicles. And trust me, it can even take on some mediums with some comfort, and it's an insane SPAA. Another vehicle to mention for this would be the Leopard 4070, the new Italian SPAA, with the Leopard chassis. Similar gun to the AMX 13 DCA, I think it's 2 mils less pen. You will not be bothered about that, I can assure you that, because it's a Bofors. That thing's a monster in the right hands, so make sure to use that as well. Next, we have Triumphator. When the battle taker required place in the team, place 1 to 3, 6 victories. And pretty much here, I just listed off a few lineups. Obviously, I will be covering lineups in a future few videos. So I'll be covering America, Germany, etc. The only nation I won't be covering is Israel because I don't play Israel. But the simple fact is, I will be covering daily task lineups for tanks, and then I'll be doing a dedicated one towards special tasks. Because obviously, special tasks do still have a similar requirement to daily tasks, but they are a bit tougher, so you need to be more considerate of that. So, Russia 4.7, which again, nerf. America 5.3 is still pretty dang good. Germany 5.3, 5.7. There are other nations, but I just couldn't be bothered to list them down. Pretty much just for focus on getting caps, kills, squad up as well will really help your chances. And this shouldn't take you too long, and obviously if you're working on something else, you should be fine for this. Next we have Unexpected Threat. Destroy player vehicles using an SPAA, 15 kills. Weber Wind, AMX 13 DC 40, Bosvark / Ystavark, tank and plane kills both count. Very simple. I do this in the boss Vark because the 23mm cannons on that thing just butcher planes, and if you get a side shot on an enemy vehicle, yeah, they don't tend to like that. Obviously, the boss Vark is a much larger vehicle because it's based on a cargo truck, pretty much. It is definitely something where it's personally down to you. If you want something that's a little bit smaller and you're more than happy to trade firepower for it, the Istavark is definitely your option. The AMX 13 DC40 is a better boss Vark. I personally don't use it because the DC40 is just disgusting. But also, I kind of like the boss Vark a little bit more. It's just its survivability is insane for what it is. Obviously, if they hit your ammunition, that's an entirely different subject. And if they strafe your gun, which a lot of people don't actually do that, surprisingly, to the boss Vark, yeah, it will be something where you can get a lot of work done. But obviously, tank and plane kills do count. So just kill whatever comes in front of your SBA, and if you're in one that can kill a tank, kill the tank, if you can, of course. Next is Happy Ending. We have win required number of battles with 50% or more activity, 15 victories. And I know I'm repeating myself a lot here, but this is pretty much just play a lineup that suits you. You don't necessarily need like a really, really strong lineup for this. You just need to just get a number of battles played with 50% or more activity. So just pretty much just play whatever suits you, really. I'm not really gonna like suggest anything here, but just make sure to keep an eye on the caps and obviously your tickets as well. And obviously make sure to bring casts because casts really can turn the tables. But just don't abuse casts because not everyone likes that. But you know it's depending on what you want. But just bear in mind that obviously being in casts is a limiting factor because whilst you are killing enemy vehicles, you can't cap. So make sure to, well, I say that. There are people that will gladly land biplanes in freaking cap circles. And of course, if you're playing in the higher tiers, you can obviously use a helicopter as well. But you get my point. Most of the time, you are not going to be landing a plane on a cap. So make sure to consider this when using casts. Next, we have Mammoth Hunting, which requires you to destroy enemy heavy tanks of the enemy. This is a bit of a pain in the arse, and I've just listed a few heavies which are good for this challenge, but also these are heavies you're probably going to have to hunt as well, depending on what you pick. So obviously the weakest one in terms of offensive firepower out of the three that I've listed there is the M4A3E2 Jumbo. But obviously if they have the APCR round, they're going to make sure that you know they have the APCR round. The Jumbo's the best armored one out of the lot, those three, but obviously there are more than just three heavies in the game. It is really down to what you want to do, so it's depending on what you want to hunt, really. And personally, I do it against tigers because bombing tiger players is just one of those satisfying things in War Thunder. And seeing the salty screams of the infamous German kid meme when he's smashing his bloody keyboard is rather satisfying. And the amount of salty messages you get from tiger players when you destroy their precious pixel tank is rather satisfying. So if I was to personally say I'd go after Germany for this, but if you want a bit of an easier time, you probably want to be better off facing the Americans because they have the M6, which is quite vulnerable. So there is that. Jumbo will be a hard nut to crack, but if you can crack a Jumbo, you are golden. So, and obviously outflanking the Jumbo and using its weak spots to your advantage will definitely help you out in the long run. Next is hard targets. Destroy SPGs of the enemy, 14 kills. This is another one where you can even use an exploit, like with the XF5F I mentioned, but obviously the XF5F would not be your vehicle of choice. This is another one where you can just go, face Germans, cast them, thank me later. This is very simple. A lot of German players recently, myself included if I play Germany, have been breaking out the Sturry Mill, which I like the Sturry Mill, but if there's one thing it does, well, there's actually a few things it doesn't have. Mobility is one of them. But one of the things it doesn't have is a roof. And what that means is even a small light bomb nearby it can kill it. And obviously, strafing can kill it. Obviously, you will have to worry about the crew in the hull, but that's fine. You can come back around for another pass. This is something where you can just go, I can just play whatever I like, really. And that is exactly it. You can pretty much just play any nation around 5-0. You'll run into a lot of German and Russian TDs. You'll also run into the occasional American TD and a British TD. So pretty much just focus on whatever you want to do and just enjoy your time, really. That's what the thing is about a lot of these special tasks, they seem daunting, but the fact is you can just play around it and just have fun, really. There's nothing really to write home about. Next, we have Through the Fire. Destroy light and medium tanks of the enemy, 60 kills. Now, this seems like a long one, and it is. Trust me, I should know. I've done this before. Quite a few times, actually, because I'm not paying G to change a task. So, one thing to consider when it comes to this one is what I would advise doing is actually working on it whilst you're working on something else. So what I mean is if there's an event on, a battle pass, in obviously our case there's always a battle pass, but you get my point. Focus on the task that you're doing for the battle pass whilst doing this. Obviously, you will still need to destroy light and medium tanks, so any SPG kills and SPA kills you get will not count. But the fact is, you're going to be so efficient at doing what you need to do for your Battle Pass challenge or a event challenge, you're probably not even going to notice that you're actually doing this at a consistent rate. So, personally, just play at any normal BR that you're comfortable at. This will be done over time, and that's pretty much what I summarized in the notes there. So, as I say, it's something where you can just go, just play whatever you want and just enjoy it, really. And next we have Grand Superiority. This is exactly the same as the best on the ground, except you have a few more avenues of approach, so you don't need to get Heavy Metal Hero, you can get Heavy Metal Fury. Again, Rush for 4.7, which again took the nerf, but it don't matter. The KV-85 is not, like, you're not always going to use the KV-85 depending on the map. But all I'll say is you will notice the missing armor, let's put it that way. I miss my KV-85, but that's what happens when you spam it during events, I guess. It tends to go up, yeah. But pretty much just play whatever suits you. I would also suggest Germany, because Germany's actually pretty good for getting kills, because their guns are very forgiving. And their armor can also be quite forgiving, unless you get up-tiered. So pretty much just focus on whatever suits you, really. I don't really need to elaborate any further on this, but it's just something where, even though you need 3 games of this, you can still do a lot of work and enjoy your time whilst doing it. So try to focus on more the enjoyment side of actually, I don't know, spading a vehicle, maybe learning something along the way. Try and use this time where you are being engaged in these challenges to try and learn something. Maybe a new tactic, maybe a new tank that you like, etc. And just try and learn something along the way. That's the thing I can really suggest for these special tasks, especially that Through the Fire one. And I'm fairly certain that's a reference to a very old Guitar Hero song, that Through the Fire, but even so, it's, well, a song that was on Guitar Hero, I should say. But all I will say is just try and focus on something that is just more positive for you, and just focus on trying to learn something along the way. Next, we have Skywatchers. Destroy SPAs of the enemy. And all I'll say is, go and face Germany. The moment you kill a German tank with your plane, there will be a CAS, well, an SPA waiting for you. I remember once I cast about 4 German tanks with a single 2,000-pound bomb using my Sky Raider, and the entire sky was lit up like it was fucking Star Wars the moment I went past their spawn. Now, thankfully, most German SPA players cannot aim worth a shit, but that's not the point. So, using the HVARs on my Sky Raider, I was able to kill 3 of those from long distance. Their guns just didn't have the range. So it's all about trying to use the advantages you have. I would recommend rockets and large bombs for easier kills. And obviously, with the amount of whirlwinds, you've got to try and time their reloads, so they'll obviously spray their entire magazine at you. And if they've got a max level crew, that's a 5-second window you have to just blow into them. And it's definitely something where you can just fire a rocket burst, get out the way, hope the rocket sticks, and even if it doesn't, cripple the vehicle, and then you can come back in for another pass. Try and do some tactics like that. Try and use the Wild Weasel method. Anything to gain an advantage on an SPA player is what you need to do. So now I'm going to scroll down to the rest of the tasks. So we haven't got much left to do, but, well, there's still some that I need to elaborate on, especially the one after this one. So we're moving on to tactical efficiency. Destroy player vehicles using a light or medium tank, 75 kills. Again, as I mentioned earlier with the Through the Fire one, this is something that you should really do over time. This isn't something where you can get it done in one game. I'd be very surprised if you even got halfway during a game for this. But simple fact is, utilize the nations that have the most mediums. So America, Russia, Germany has obviously the Panthers and the Panzer IVs. Try and utilize something that you're comfortable with. Don't use something that you're not comfortable with or is unupgraded. Like, I did one of these challenges with Russia at about 5-3. I just took the heavies out, which, like, at the time, the best heavy to use was the IS-1. I just removed the IS-1 and pretty much just stuffed another T-34 in there, and I got this gun, or this challenge done within a few games. Like, it didn't take too long. I think it was like 10 games to do it, and like there was a few high kill games and then some lower level games. But the fact is, as long as you just play to your strengths and play something that you're familiar with, you should have this done in no time. Obviously, the T-34, 57, and 85 are excellent choices. M4A1 76, M4A2 with the 76, because obviously the 75 is no longer rank 2, or rank 3, sorry. This is definitely something where you can go, I can do this at the same time as well as another task. Try and focus on that, and you should have this done within no time at all. Next, we have Set to Work. Get the Help with Repairing streak required number of times, Help with Repairing 7 streaks. Now, there is a little exploit for this one, which I'll be covering in a video at some point, once I can get around to it. But pretty much just stick near your teammates if you don't have a squad mate to actually do this with. And you'll have this done in no time. The exploit I'm on about is on some maps you can actually just drown your teammate's engine. Well, your squad mate's engine in this case. You can do it up to 3 times in that match, and then the exploit doesn't work. But you can get this done within 2 games, as long as you get at least one other on someone else, which you probably will if you're sticking near your team. Or you might even have this done in 1 game, which I've even had that before. So try and do that, and just try and stick near your team, repair them, and just help them out. Even if it gets you killed, don't worry about it, as long as you have the SL to obviously cover the repair cost. But the fact is helping your team is something that really isn't looked upon in War Thunder right now, and I think it's a good chance for you to really try and support that sort of play style. Next, we have Tiger. Play a battle destroy required of enemy vehicles, 5 or more ground vehicle kills, 5 games. This is one where I either use the exploit with the XF5F, the Russia 4.7, which again, I'm not going to mention the KV-5 again. And this is pretty much just play whatever works for you. As long as you're getting 5 kills, it doesn't matter if you're doing a tank or a plane. Even if you get 1 kill per vehicle, you will get 5. And you don't have to win. You don't have to focus on the caps. So just pretty much do what the challenge really asks you. There's no real elaboration needed. But as I say, use CAS if you can. CAS does obviously help out get some kills. And obviously plane kills do not count for this. I'm just going to specifically state that. The task is asking for ground vehicle kills, not air. So make sure to focus on that. Next, we have Star Squad. Get the best squad streak required number of times, 7 streaks. This can be a pain in the arse, I'll be honest. And if you're not doing this in a 4-man squad, yeah, this is something where I would heavily suggest joining our Discord and trying to get used to it and get people together. We will obviously help out people where we can. But like I said, 4-man squad, stick close together, and as you'll see in one of Harry's recent videos, having a 4-man squad is also handy when you're getting attacked by a team killer, so that's always something. For context, I got attacked by a guy who was really pissed that I was in a Chinese P-51 Mustang. I was also in a fully loaded Chinese P-51 Mustang. I couldn't shake him off because, well, I needed to get my bombs to go and help. I think it was Mad Cat who I was with. I think his name's... I was with Ram Ranch, I think, and his name's Dirty Burger in the game, and he was called for Cass, and I was obviously coming in my Mustang. Harry had already dropped his bombs, and I said to him, Harry, I need to get this guy off me. I need you to get this guy off me. And it's just good to have that extra security. So I would definitely recommend doing this in a 4-man squad. Next, we have the second one that I'd recommend skipping, is Mission Maker. This is one that is a royal pain in the ass. If you really want to go for it, rush a cap and just take someone out at long distance, as long as you know the distance that is, and just take someone out on approach. And for the final kill in the match, you need to use cast, but this is very specific. This is a pain in the ass. I've only ever done this one once, so don't do it, is all I'll say. It took me 2 hours to do this. Don't do it, skip it, do something else. I wanted to see how bad it was because I always knew this one was quite bad. It's bad. Don't do it. Next we have Bullseye. Make required number of critical hits, 120 critical hits. Like I said earlier, this is pretty much one where you can just play normally at a BR you're comfortable at, and just playing normally will work on this over time. And of course, plane crits, so shooting a plane and getting a crit, does count. So just bear that in mind. You can get a crit on a plane and it will count for this. And I think if you drop a bomb and kill a tank, I think it also counts as a crit. I might be wrong about that, but it's just how Gaijin's code is. And yeah, I would personally advise using smaller bombs because then you can obviously get, well, I say smaller bombs, more like smaller aircraft that aren't as big to shoot at, because obviously there's going to be a lot of anti-aircraft up, there's going to be anti-CAS up. So just make sure to do this in something you're comfortable with, but obviously crits will come over time. Focus on something else whilst you're doing it. You'll have this done in no time. Next, we have one of the strangest ones. You might remember the botfly one from the plane video, or the plane special task video, and this is no exception. This is Steppe Spider. When required number of battles, destroying one enemy vehicle by at least 1 BR battle rating higher than yours in every battle. 2 victories. So obviously you still need to win, so do consider that the vehicle you're going to have to up tier is going to have to work hard. But because German mains appear to have cried on the forums, it appears they have been given a vehicle that is perfect for this. The VK3002M. I've done this special task a few times in that tank, because that is essentially a 5.3 Panther at 5.0. Which, fair enough, the armour is nowhere near as good, but you still have a Panther's gun. So I just up-tiered this thing to around 6.3, and it does the job. It really does do the job, because that gun is just so powerful. Just focus on killing something like a T-34... Well, not T-34, 85. I've seen a few people play the M4 T-26. Basically, just learn the BRs that you're facing, and you'll be golden for this. That's all I can really suggest on this one. Next, we have Activists. When required over battles, we need an activity percent, 85% or more activity, 7 victories. Again, if you need help, join our Discord. This is really one of the ones where you need people for this. And again, the lineups can be just really specific to what you're comfortable with, but 4.7 Russia, even without the KV-85, is still something where you can go, this is still pretty dang strong. Like, for example, it's like in Pokemon at the minute, when the card Scoop Up Net rotated, I still remember when this rotated, everyone was saying, oh, Lost Zone is dead, Lost Zone is dead. And the first thing that happened was Lost Zone Giratina took a tournament without Scoop Up Net, and everyone was like, Lost Zone isn't dead, Lost Zone isn't dead, and I'm like, it wasn't dead in the first place. So the simple fact is that as long as you just focus on actually using that lineup effectively, even without the KV-85, you can just use T-34s for this, and this will be fine. Next is Vigilante. Help allied players to destroy the enemies, 35 assists. Now, there's a cheeky little bit of a method you can do to guarantee easier assists, and that's actually jumping in a plane with light machine guns. So what you can do is just shoot at the tracks, specifically, of an enemy foe, and you'll get an assist if that foe dies. This won't take you too long, and if you can disable the gunner on an enemy tank, and your teammate can come along and kill it, or your squad mate can come along and kill it, that will also be an assist. So again, this is one that should just come over time. Don't focus on it, just play whatever you want, really. Next, we have Firepower. Destroy player vehicles using an SPG, 24 kills. And again, it's another one where you can just take an SPG and just whatever you're comfortable with. Now, I think the NATO has gone down to rank 2. I might be wrong about that. I've not checked that tank in donkeys. But most of the vehicles there are more than capable of doing the task, and even the NATO, if it is still rank 3, can do this task quite well. So just focus on using your SPGs sparingly. Obviously, CAS is something you need to be considerate of. Light tanks can also be quite a pain in the arse, especially for something like the Hetzer, which is the Jagdpanzer 38T, for those who don't know it at all. But all I'll say is focus on getting the kills with your SPGs. Obviously, anything you kill with the SPG in terms of an aircraft will also count. If you manage to shoot down a plane with a Stereo Mill, you deserve a medal, is all I'll say. I know I mentioned the Stereo Mill earlier, but still. This is just something that is really down to what you prefer. Do you prefer an armoured SPG or an unarmoured SPG like the M36? It's really down to you, and just play this normally, you'll have this done in no time. And finally, we come to the second scout task, which is the one that I mentioned earlier. This is the intelligence streak. So this is pretty much just scout the opponent, your teammates will kill him. You need to find a good position, and you need to find a rank 3 scout tank that does work. I personally do this in the Walker Bulldog. At first I didn't like the Bulldog, but the moment I got Saber, I was like, this thing is a beast. But you're obviously not going to be using your gun unless you absolutely have to. So try and find a good position and pretty much just scout away. You don't need to get into combat, just make sure to scout every enemy you can spot. The spotting system can be a bit buggy, so bear that in mind. But other than that, stay in a good position, stay hidden, scout and hope. And hopefully, someone or some people will destroy the vehicles you scout. And that's it for the special tasks, and that's it for the overall mini overview of the updated special tasks and daily tasks overview videos. It's obviously been one that needed updating for a while, and I've not been able to really focus on it too much, but that's the end of it. If there's anything that obviously gets changed in the future, I will obviously do an addendum for this sort of thing. So there will be something that, because sitting down for half an hour plus when I've already got a bad throat, but it's one of those things really, it's one of those things where I don't need to sit down for half an hour to update 5 tasks. So from now on, if there is another update to this, which I doubt it, I will purely just do an addendum video, because that is going to save my throat a lot of effort. But anyway, I'm going to leave all to it for today. I hope you enjoyed seeing the special task for Tank RB, and I will see you all on the next one.